which wasn't exactly a warm flannel blanket on a cold winter's night, but it kept a man's spirit burning through even the darkest despair. By all rights, Boris, good old cold and calculating Boris, who never hesitated to shoot when they'd faced enemy troops, should have ended Jean's life back on that impromptu battleground. Jean had intentionally baited him and trapped the moose into giving him the one-on-one fight he desired. They'd slugged it out, the satisfying smack of his fist hitting flesh easing some of the bubbling anger inside. "At last, I will avenge myself on one of my brothers who left me to die in that cesspool overseas." He'd meant to kill Boris, or he thought he did until a lovely fox named Jan pointed a gun at him and begged him to spare her lover's life. On the verge of winning, he hesitated and didn't deliver the killing blow. What the fuck? Where inside his abused body did that shred of decency and morality come from? It bubbled past the molten lava of his betrayal and stayed his hand. This emerging conscience made him question what was truly better: kill Boris and live another day hating life, or give the vixen what she wanted, and with the moose as his executioner, finally allow himself to slip into oblivion, where perhaps the nightmares wouldn't follow. What I wouldn't give for peace. But Boris didn't finish him off. Boris showed him mercy. Arg, fuck, bastard. I hate him even more than ever. And at the same time, fiercely loved the goddamned prick. Love, hate, the emotions chased him from Kodiak Point, chased him miles and miles and miles, until he took refuge in a shack he'd long ago claimed as his own. He couldn't term it a home, but it kept the harsh elements off his clothing, bedroll, and the food he kept stashed here, most of it stolen. Apparently, he'd missed the chapter in the villain's handbook that explained it was hard to hold down a job when plotting and executing revenge, so he resorted to pilfering what he needed and hunting to supplement his diet. As he stared around at the meager surroundings, he couldn't help but think, "This is pathetic." And little better than the prison he'd escaped, but at least he could leave any time he wanted. No locks holding him here, and he didn't have to worry every time the door opened that death might arrive. However, this little shack, hidden amidst the ice and snow of the Arctic Circle, wasn't exactly a safe haven. I might still die yet. Several of his recent actions had placed a really large bullseye on his furry white ass. Jean had done the unforgivable. He'd intentionally acted against his plan. It wasn't enough that Jean had walked out without a word of where he was going, no longer interested in the plot to overthrow Reed and take over the clan at Kodiak Point. Jean had actively fought against his army. That would not go over well at all if the one who'd dragged him from the desert ever found out. And he would. He always did. Jean feared few people. He could count them on one hand. The devil, when he came to collect his due, his mother, who would have skinned him alive for what he'd done, and him. If the devil was the world's scariest demon, then he was his brother, an enemy like no other. Jean doubted his former army buddies had ever encountered anyone with a core of evil so great, so encompassing, that it was a wonder the very foliage didn't wilt under his feet.